March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and according to new statistics, the proportion of colorectal cancer that occurred in people under the age of 55 unfortunately doubled between 1995 and 2019 from 11% to 20%.
Yeah, that's pretty drastic. Our 9 Health expert, Dr. Coley, joins us this morning to break things down. So we were just discussing about how colon cancer is popping up more and more in young people. What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is really alarming because when I was in medical school, we traditionally thought of colon cancer as an old man's disease. And now what we're seeing is a change in our population levels where we're seeing it in young people. And not only are we seeing it in young people, we're seeing more advanced diagnoses in young people. In fact, the studies tell us that in about 5 years, people under the age of 50, it's going to be the leading cause of cancer death.
So we know they just changed the age from 50 is when you typically start getting your regular screenings to 45. Can we anticipate in the coming years that might even drop lower?
Yeah.
Potentially, yes, because we're really worried about the why here. Why is it that young people are getting it? And what we're seeing is that if you were born after 1990, your risk of having colon cancer compared to somebody born in 1950 is twice as high, and your risk of having rectal cancer is 4 times as high. So this raises the question of something called a birth cohort effect. Is there something about these people that they're all being exposed to the same environmental toxin, carcinogen, what have you, that's causing these increased rates? And we don't yet know what that is. Is it plastics? Is it what we're eating? Is it the pollution in the air? We're not entirely sure, but it's incredibly concerning.
Not entirely sure specifically what that is, but pretty understood that it is something we're consuming?
No, even that we don't yet know.
Okay.
If it's something in the environment versus something we're eating. Now we know things like, red meat, alcohol, obesity, lack of exercise. Certain things we do will certainly increase our risk for colon cancer. But why we're seeing now is a surge, an epidemic in young people, that's a little bit of that question mark there.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the screening and possibly dropping that down. However, if there's colon cancer that runs in your family, you are going to be a candidate to get screened. You said 10 years prior to when that family member was diagnosed.
That's exactly right. So generally, we used to screen at 50. Now everyone is getting screened starting at 45. But if you have risk factors, either hereditary cancer syndromes, or as you said, Erica, a family member that's had colon cancer, then you need to talk to your doctor because you may actually need to start screening 10 years before that family member had it. So even the 20s and 30s potentially. Okay. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, we're finding more cancer in young people because we're screening younger people. And that's actually not true because that's more of a recent phenomena. And this has been happening now for quite some years. And we're finding it more advanced. If we were finding it in more young people, we would imagine that we would find it earlier, not later stage.
And to your point, you said something that made my ears perk right up. You said there were a lot of cases that because they're not screened so young, that we're learning they were missed ultimately in that way. If for somebody that potentially could, have colorectal cancer, is it possible that it presents itself without symptoms?
Yes, and that's what makes this disease so deadly. Because, think about your colon. It's actually a hollow tube, right? So if you've got a tumor growing inside that tube, your body's not going to declare it until that tumor gets so big that it's either bleeding into your colon and you have blood in your stool, it's causing it to push on some other organ, or causing you to have abdominal pain, weight loss, causing systemic symptoms. So a lot of our colon cancers, in fact, the majority are now being diagnosed late stage. 60% of them. And the unfortunate thing here is that 1 out of 3 people eligible for screening have not gotten their screenings.
Oh, wow.
So even the ones that are eligible,
45
really,
and up.
yes. So this is something we need to take seriously because all of us used to think, oh, it's just an old person's disease. Not anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, really quickly, with the few seconds we have left, what is your advice to anybody at home just moving forward with this?
I would say a couple things. One is clean up your act because what you do does affect your risk. And what you do early in life, it can affect it later. So try to live as healthy as you can. Exercise, eat right, lots of fiber, not a lot of red meat, not a lot of alcohol. The second is really talk to your doctor about your personal risk. Just like heart disease, colon cancer, one of those things that until we get ahead of it, we are not going to change that curve of morbidity and mortality. And diagnosed early, it's curable, but diagnosed late, it can be fatal.
Well, Dr. Coley, we appreciate you bringing this to the forefront. And again, March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. So everything you learned here from Dr. Coley or you find online, make sure you share it with your friends. And again, if you're 45 and up, make sure you're getting your regular screenings. Dr. Coley, thank you.
Thank you.